Far-left activists over in Portland, they protested by vandalizing buildings, smashing windows, and clashing with the police. They even attacked the local Democrat Party office over in Oregon. Meanwhile, our research has found that YouTube has deleted thousands of dislikes from videos of Joe Biden's inauguration, although they claim that they were just combating spammers. And over in Congress, while the impeachment of President Trump seems to be ongoing, there has been new articles of impeachment that have been introduced against Joe Biden, accusing him of quid pro quo in Ukraine, as well as an abuse of power in regards to Hunter Biden's dealings with China. Let's go through these stories together. This is your daily Facts Matter update, and I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Now let's start our discussion today by talking about Portland. On Wednesday, after Joe Biden was sworn into office, far-left activists over in Portland, Oregon, they vandalized buildings, they smashed windows, and they clashed with the police. Basically, they were voicing their opposition to the government, to law enforcement, as well as to the new administration. For instance, there were signs and banners which read, "We are ungovernable," or "We don't want Biden, we want revenge for police murders, imperialist wars, and fascist massacres." And another sign that read, "No cops, no prisons, no borders, no presidents." And so, waving these banners around, these activists, who were dressed in all black and had their faces covered, they went around and caused general mayhem. They went over to the local Democrat Party office in Oregon, which is in Portland, and they broke the windows, broke the glass door, and spray painted an anarchist symbol over the Democrat Party sign. According to reports, some of them also tipped over garbage cans and lit the contents on fire. In fact, I read another report that they even smashed up the original Starbucks coffee shop, the one that was in Portland. So I guess nothing is really sacred. They later gathered outside of the ICE facility near downtown Portland and burned the American flag right there in the middle of the street. And there was one point during the protest when the demonstrators were actually approached by police officers who were on bicycles. And some of the protesters, they took one of the officers' bicycles and began throwing objects at the police as they were retreating. I think that anecdote kind of gives you a sense for the general atmosphere of what was happening there. In total, 8 people were arrested in Portland on charges including rioting and reckless burning. If you want to read more about what happened in Portland, or if you'd like to see some of the videos that came out of there for yourself, those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And while you're down there looking for those links, take a quick moment to smash that like button. You know, just the other day, there was a very interesting story that I read. During Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony, YouTube was caught deleting thousands of dislikes, the thumbs down, from the live stream videos of the inauguration that was on the official White House account. Take a look at these two side-by-side screenshots for comparison. Notice that about 7,000 dislikes that were below the video go missing over the course of several hours. In fact, our research here at the Epoch Times found that a total of at least 16,000 dislikes were removed from at least 3 different videos on the White House account. Now, we reached out to YouTube and we asked them what was happening, and they told us that they did this in order to counteract what they're calling spammers, as well as what they're referring to as inauthentic behavior. That might be the case, although it's not exactly clear how YouTube discerns between authentic and inauthentic engagement. We actually followed up and asked them for clarification, but they did not get back to us. Now, all of this is to say, I don't have anyone over in YouTube headquarters helping me out, and so I rely on you, the viewer, to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Because you know, when you hit that like button that's below this video, you are forcing the YouTube algorithm to share this video out to potentially thousands of more people, letting the truth be known far and wide. Now let's talk about the new pandemic spending package. In a speech that was delivered yesterday, Nancy Pelosi said that the House will move immediately to pass a several trillion-dollar pandemic spending package. In the speech, here's what she said. "We're getting ready for a COVID relief package. We'll be working on that as we go. We'll be doing our committee work all next week so that we are completely ready to go to the floor when we come back." So her statement, it suggests that the stimulus bill could be passed into law as early February. Now, what exactly is in this bill? Well, last week, President Biden unveiled a nearly $2 trillion spending measure, which included a $1,400 stimulus payment, a raise in unemployment benefits, among other things. Now, this multi-trillion-dollar package actually comes on the heels of the other spending bill, the $900 billion package that was passed late last year. You know the one. That one was the one which included the $600 stimulus payments that you likely already received. So is this new bill actually likely to pass? I'm not sure. Right now, the Senate, as you know, is divided 50-50. And so they would need literally every single Democrat senator to agree to this bill in order for it to pass, because then Kamala Harris can cast the tie-breaking vote as VP. Will that actually happen? We'll have to see. Only time will tell. But regardless of whether it passes or not, I want to tell you something that I've been noticing listening to these debates. There is a total lack of a discussion on the massive growing national debt in this country, which as of right now sits at a whopping $27.8 trillion. So we'll have to see what comes of it all. If you'd like to read more about this pandemic spending package, that link will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And actually, now is a great time to introduce the sponsor of today's episode. That's right. The sponsor of today's episode is American Hartford Gold. Now, I don't have a PhD in finance, but I know through common sense that the more of something there is, the less valuable it is generally, right? And so when the Treasury is printing billions and trillions of dollars and the Federal Reserve is buying up trillions of dollars in assets and through that process creating more currency, the value of the currency is likely going to go down. And by the way, I don't offer any investment advice. I'm not qualified to, but I will tell you that I've personally been buying gold and silver over the past 4.5 years now, because I believe that it's something that has value inherently in it. The government can't print it, and it was something that was valued as money 5,000 years ago. It's something that has value today, and it's something that'll likely have value 5,000 years into the future. You can hold it. It feels great. It feels great to hold something that has real intrinsic value in it, gold and silver. And American Hartford Gold is a great company if you're looking to buy. They are owned by patriots. They obviously sponsor a channel like ours, and they have some of the lowest rates in the industry. The way that gold and silver buying works is that there's a spot price, kind of the basic price that is the cost of the metal. Right now for gold, it's about $1,860, and for silver, it's about $26. And then the dealers, they charge a small premium over top that, usually like 1%, maybe 2%. And American Hartford Gold has some of the lowest rates in the industry. And also, they can ship you physical gold and silver directly to your doorstep, or they can put it directly into your IRA account, making the whole process super simple. They have an A+ rating with a Better Business Bureau. And so if you want to check them out, the link will be in the description box below. You can go to their landing page and put in your information. They'll send you a free PDF book on sort of a guide to investing in gold and silver. Or you can also call them at 866-242-2352. That's 866-242-2352. Or you can also go the text route. You can text them Roman to 65532. Again, you can text them the word Roman, like my name, Roman, to 65532. So American Hartford Gold, thank you so much for sponsoring our video. And now, Roman in the studio, back to you. And now let's talk about impeachment. So as of a few days ago, Chuck Schumer is now the Senate Majority Leader. And as such, here's what he had to say about the impeachment trial of President Trump.
But make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection against the United States.
It seems like the Senate trial of President Trump will actually proceed in the Senate. So let me give you a little bit of context. An impeachment, what's known as an impeachment, is actually an indictment. It's basically an accusation that some crime has been committed, and then a trial has to prove whether that's the case or not. And the single article of impeachment against Donald Trump alleges that he incited an insurrection that resulted in the breach of the U.S. Capitol on January the 6th. So after this impeachment passed the House, Democrats in the Senate, they wanted to start the trial immediately. But they couldn't because Mitch McConnell declined to call the Senate back into session. However, as stated in that earlier video that we just watched, Chuck Schumer will be holding the trial. But that still leaves an important constitutional question which remains unanswered. Is this case actually still relevant, or is it moot? Because now that President Trump is out of office, can he actually be successfully impeached? Well, according to an interview with Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, he can't. That's because, according to him, the Constitution specifically says the president shall be removed from office upon impeachment. It doesn't say the former president. Congress has no power to impeach or try a private citizen, whether it be a private citizen named Donald Trump or named Barack Obama or anyone else. Basically, his interpretation of the law would mean that the case is now moot, basically that it's immaterial. However, Dershowitz also added that even though it's unconstitutional, that probably won't bother the senators. He added that the Constitution is very clear. The subject, the object, the purpose of impeachment is to remove a sitting president. And there are two precedents. One is very obvious. When President Nixon resigned in anticipation of being impeached and removed, there was no effort to impeach him after he left office. And so along that line, if Chuck Schumer actually decides to proceed with this trial, this question might go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, as all of this is playing out against President Trump, there is actually a corollary action happening against Joe Biden as well. Marjorie Greene, who is a newly elected House member from Georgia, she has just introduced articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. And this, by the way, came just a day after he was sworn in. So, according to a statement that was released from her office, these new articles of impeachment contain two main things. Firstly, Joe Biden's alleged actions involving a quid pro quo deal over in Ukraine. In her statement, she wrote that President Biden is even on tape admitting to a quid pro quo with the Ukraine government, threatening to withhold $1 billion in foreign aid if they did not do his bidding. And secondly, the impeachment alleges abuse of power by allowing his son Hunter Biden to siphon off cash from America's greatest enemies, Russia and China. We here at the Epoch Times, we reached out to the White House for comment about these allegations, but have yet to hear back. If you'd like to read more about either of these two impeachments that are currently working their way through Congress, those links will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. And now, let's talk about the census. Now, we already discussed in one of our previous episodes how President Trump sought to exclude non-citizens from being counted in the census. However, in his first day in office, President Biden issued an executive order mandating that the Census Bureau include illegal immigrants in its apportionment. Here is specifically what his order states. The Secretary of Commerce shall report the tabulation of total population by state that reflects the whole number of persons whose usual residence was in each state as of the designated census date, without regard to immigration status. Now, the order actually goes on to say that congressional appointment will be done without regard to immigration status, meaning that states with large populations of either non-citizens or illegal immigrants will potentially be given more seats in Congress, as well as more federal funding. Now, as of right now, there is no deadline for this new order, and it's still a little bit unclear when the Bureau will actually have this apportionment data ready. It was actually supposed to be ready late last year, but they missed the deadline. If you'd like to read more about this development with the U.S. Census, that link will be in the description box below this video for you to check out. Lastly, I want to end this program with a bit of housekeeping. As of 2 days ago, our channel has been officially demonetized. YouTube will no longer allow us to show ads before, during, or after the program, and the super chat feature is now unavailable. Why? I'm not sure, but frankly, I'm not really surprised. Unfortunately, I kind of knew that this day would come at some point. I just actually didn't think it would come so soon. Now, this channel, Facts Matter, is only about 8 weeks old. And obviously, we're doing something right, as we already have more than 460,000 subscribers. And if you've been watching the program for a little while now, you know the kind of format that we are trying to stick to here. We present you with the facts, we try to not extrapolate, we don't even offer too much in the way of opinion, and instead, we tell you what happened, we tell you who said what, and then we even put all of our sources, all of our source material, our research, and even the original documents into the description box below this video for you to read for yourself. And that way, you can read them and come to your own conclusions about what's happening in this world. And yet, we've been demonetized. That's the state of the world right now. There is a crackdown across the board on news outlets that don't put facts within the confines of pre-approved narratives. And because of this, you already know what's happening. I don't need to tell you. Many Americans don't ever get a chance to see the full picture of reality. They don't get to see both sides of what's happening. And they are sometimes led to believe things that are not true. Right now, we are living through a time when history seems to be being made every single day. Whether it's the last 4 years, whether it's the 2020 election with all of its, let's call them irregularities, or whether it's the pandemic and all of these new crackdowns on civil liberties, history is being made every single day, it seems like. But think about this. If people don't have access to accurate records of what is happening today, what will our kids think about this time period? What will they be taught in schools? I mean, really, it's not hyperbole to say that right now we have arrived at a crossroads between freedom and some mutation of communism, which manifests right now as either cancel culture, suppression of free speech, and many other things. And so along that line, this is what I would implore you to do. If you value free speech, if you value honest journalism, and if you value facts above pre-approved narratives, then I would consider subscribing to the Epoch Times. I'll throw a link into the description box below this video. It does not cost much, only a few dollars every month, and by subscribing, you will have continued access to all of our research, all of our analysis, all of our infographics, our interviews with experts that seem to be ignored by the legacy media, and if anything ever happens here on YouTube, you will have continued access to my program, as well as the programs of Jan Jekielek, Josh Phillips, and all the rest. And so again, that link will be in the description box below this video for you to check out, and I hope that you do. I hope that you continue with us on this journey of exploring facts and trying to find the truth. And lastly, if you haven't already, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to this channel in order to get our reporting delivered directly into your YouTube feed, and until next time, if there is a next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.
President Trump makes his first public comments since leaving office. He said that he'll make a comeback in some way, but didn't explain how. Trump told Rob Crilly of the Washington Examiner that he'll do something, but not just yet. He didn't give any details about his plans. According to the Examiner, Trump made the comment while dining at the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, Florida. Trump made similar remarks about being back in some form on Wednesday morning before leaving for Florida. And the Biden administration is already reversing many of Trump's policies in the first 2 days of office. Our reporter in California asked Trump supporters what they think are Trump's most important legacies and what the new administration will do to them.
We interviewed supporters of President Trump in Orange County, California on Inauguration Day. They were gathering to say thank you to President Trump for his 4 years of service. They told us what they think are Trump's most important legacies.
The border patrol, the building the border, helping our veterans. That was immense. That was so good for our veterans.
China was totally stamped down, totally, and they're already coming out. They've already banned a lot of Trump's people from even coming to China.
Taking on the Chinese Communist Party, that has been a really, really big thing, calling China out. And it's about extend a nice hand out to China, I guess with the hope that one day they would be a democracy. But I think it's kind of useless. So at least he called them out.
Some are concerned that the new Biden administration will roll back a lot of Trump's policies. They want President Trump's legacy to remain and the new administration to continue addressing important issues pressing America.
He needed another 4 years to make it solid what he's doing, and I feel like it's going to start to be torn down day by day right from the get-go. We're going to lose so much so fast.
And what he has done in the Middle East, the groundwork that he has put down, I just pray to God Almighty that the current administration as of today doesn't mess things up in the Middle East. I mean, at least he really started pulling things together. Well, I think that one of the problems that we have to worry about is the Chinese money coming into politicians, to our corporations, getting involved with our technology. Those are the things that we really have to be concerned about, and the far-reaching of the Communist Party into other parts of the world.
They're infiltrating the United States, and we don't do something about it. This country ceases to exist the way it should be.
Just 1 day into his presidency, Biden has already reversed many of President Trump's important policies. He rejoined the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization, canceled the Keystone Pipeline, and halted construction of the border wall. It remains to be seen whether the new administration will keep any of Trump's policies in place.
25,000 members of the National Guard were called to Washington for the inauguration of Joe Biden. After the event, they were told to pack up and move out. But with nowhere to go, thousands of guardsmen were left stranded around the Capitol. NTD's Christina Kim has those details.
The day after inauguration, thousands of guardsmen protecting the Capitol complex were told by the U.S. Capitol Police to pack up and move out of the Capitol and nearby congressional buildings. The guardsmen were told to set up mobile command centers outside or in nearby hotels and were forced to sleep and rest at various points around the Capitol. Politico reports that one group was forced to rest in a parking garage with no internet, just one electrical outlet, and one bathroom for 5,000 members. Capitol Police are under the direct control of congressional leaders, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. One guardsman told Politico they felt betrayed after serving and protecting the Capitol to then be sent away to a parking garage. One guard member said, upon arriving in D.C., they were packed in like sardines and didn't get tested for the virus. Many guardsmen said social distancing was impossible, and Politico said more than 100 troops tested positive for the virus. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle, including Senators Joni Ernst, Kevin McCarthy, and Tammy Duckworth, expressed their outrage, saying our troops deserve to be treated with respect. Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez echoed the sentiment, offering her office space and snacks. Representative Madison Cawthorn sprung into action and delivered pizza to the soldiers. In response to this, Governors from New Hampshire, Florida, Montana, and Texas have ordered the National Guard troops to come back home. Senators Jim Inhofe and Chuck Schumer blamed one uniformed police officer who allegedly issued an order without authority or without going through the chain of command for the situation. Christina Kim, NTD News.
The Chinese Communist regime found to have been developing more advanced military drones. And the adversary they have in mind, the United States of America.
Beijing is ramping up its production of military drones, according to a leaked document from China's Ministry of National Defense obtained by the Epoch Times. The goal is to spy on and compete with adversaries like the United States. The 2017 document explained the purpose is to arm China's military defense and make it capable of taking on U.S. weapons. The document said the drones could be used to seize information as well as control and restrict other nations' information. Chinese media reported that China spends 0.5% of its military budget on drones, while the U.S. spends 0.8%. Military drones take up a quarter of China's drone market, while China's commercial drone giant DJI claims over 80% of the global market. The Chinese company has been accused of collecting unnecessary information from users. American officials say the company may send Americans' data to China. DJI denies the claims. Police departments from 22 U.S. states use the Chinese drones to enforce social distancing guidelines. The Trump administration banned DJI from buying American products, citing national security concerns. The move dealt a hard blow to the company, who rely heavily on electronic components made in the U.S. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
United Airlines might make the CCP virus vaccine mandatory for the company's more than 60,000 employees. United CEO Scott Kirby says he wants to make it mandatory and that other companies should do the same. Kirby told employees he has full confidence in the vaccine, but he also recognizes it's controversial. And getting everyone vaccinated will be a logistical challenge. Airline workers can get the vaccine before the general population because they're considered essential employees. CNBC reports that United is trying to set up vaccine centers at some of its main hubs. And Google is threatening to shut down its search engine in Australia if the Australian government forces it to pay for news. Australia is in the process to pass laws to do just that. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
Google is threatening to block its search engine in Australia if the government proceeds with a new code. It would force Google and Facebook to pay domestic media companies for the right to use their content.
If this version of the code were to become law, it would give us no real choice but to stop making Google search available in Australia.
Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison was quick to respond.
Australia makes our rules for things you can do in Australia. That's done in our parliament, it's done by our government, and that's how things work here in Australia. And people who want to work with that in Australia, you're very welcome. But we don't respond to threats.
Google's threat escalates a battle with publishers like News Corp, which is being closely watched around the world. The search giant says 19 million Australian users would have worse YouTube and search experiences if the new code is enforced. Google doesn't disclose sales from Australia, but search ads make up most of its revenue and profit globally. This week, the United States asked Australia to scrap the proposed laws which have broad political support and suggested Australia should pursue a voluntary code instead. Australia says Google and Facebook hold too much market power in the media industry, and that's a potential threat to democracy. Reporting by Patrick Hayden, NTD News.